I'm going to talk to you on close treatment of dorsal fracture subluxations of the PIP joint. I almost get the feeling that this is a little bit of a thesis presentation, and I'm doing this presentation in front of somebody from whom I learned this. But anyway, I'll give it my best shot. I hope I'll be all right. So what we're going to look at in the next 10 minutes is to look at what are the fractures contributing to stability of the PIP joint, especially in the dorso-palmar direction. And we look at the concept of the two types of flexion, which are important to understand, namely the gliding and hinged flexion. We also look at the soft tissue component of the problem, which becomes very important, especially in the Indian context, or in the context at least of my patients, because they come delayed. They're usually treated by traditional bone setters and so on and so forth. And then we also question a little bit of the aims of treatment. How much of articular surface do we have to labor to restore? Whether absolute reduction of subluxation is a prerequisite for successful outcome. And we'll also look at clinical examples of some close treatment. So this is a little bit of I'm bringing pav bhaji to Mumbai, but I have to do it. The box configuration of the PIP joint, you have the volar plate and then the collateral ligaments on the either side. Now what's important is that the volar lip of the base of the middle phalanx is what contributes, is the principal contributor to the dorsopalmar stability, which is important in today's context. Now, there's not much provided by the volar plate, and definitely there's no role of the collateral ligament in producing dorsopalmar instability. Now, why is that important? When you have a force, axially directed force on a flexed finger, the base of the middle phalanx breaks, and it sort of is dorsally pulled by two factors, the bony factor, which is the obliquity of the base of the middle phalanx. Now that is important to understand, because when we sometimes do hemihamate arthroplasty, what we are actually doing is not restore the volar lip, because you really can't do it with a hemihamate. Although there are techniques which are described by it. You're basically restoring the obliquity. The other thing which happens is that as the extensor tendon and the flexor tendon are pulling the base of the middle phalanx, the subluxation actually worsens. Now, the AWA has taught us the principles of management of intra-articular fractures, namely anatomical reduction of the fracture as well as the joint, especially in subluxations, stable internal fixation, and early mobilization. All these concepts will have to be maybe looked at slightly differently in the context of PIP joint fracture subluxations, as was done by Peter Stern and Thomas Keif-Haber in this paper. So they ask two principal questions. Is reduction of the joint an absolute necessity? Because they have quoted a lot of studies where follow-up has shown a little subluxation but is compatible with excellent function. I'll also show it to you in the clinical examples. And how much of anatomical reduction of the surface is necessary, because we know, at least from the large joints, especially the knee joint, that articular surface need not be perfect for very good mobility. Now this is a concept of, so how do you know that whether the joints is, the subluxation is reduced adequately? Now this is what you want. The joint is reduced adequately and it's a gliding flexion. Because the same amount of flexion can be obtained in this case, but this is a hinged flexion. This is something we always try and avoid, because this broken surface is going to rub against its normal surface, and that's going to be a problem. Now, this is again important, as I was mentioning, in the delayed situations and in situations where these patients have been treated by traditional bone setters. There's a lot of dorsal edema, and then everything on the dorsal side is stuck. The extensor tendon structures, periarticular, are tight, and we have to take into consideration these things before we treat these fractures. So the simplest form of treatment is extension block. I'm going to stick to only close treatment. I think the other speakers will deal with the open treatment. So this is the commonest injury. This is a trans person who had a fall, and then he had a finger which dorsally subluxed, as a volar lip which is fractured. And then you can just put a extension block pin. So no effort was made to do anything to that broken piece, just reduction of the subluxation, and then you can get a reasonably good movement. And that's what the person was at the end of 2 months, and then went on to heal well. I want you to note this, that there's still some amount of articular problem there. And couple of years ago, there was a webinar where everybody was talking about hemi-hamate and volar plate arthroplasty, and one person was not talking about it at all. And that silence to me was absolutely deafening. And then it was absolutely fascinating to see some of his cases which are treated by external fixation. I'm very inspired by that. And this is the paper which actually describes that technique, and I'm very grateful to Dr. Patankar for having sent it to me. That's a paper by B.B. Joshi and his colleague, which describes that technique. So basically what we do, this is a patient who presented, this is a cricket ball injury, who presented to be about a year later. So that's the amount of flexion he has inside the theater. So what you do, you put a fixator and you distract it. Now we distract it till as much as we can. We're looking at the vascularity, and post-operatively we always have a provision to reduce the distraction in case we pulled on the nerve a little bit. So we measure it in the C-arm, is usually about 2 to 3 millimeters. So once you do that, we keep it on for about 4 to 5 weeks. And then we take the distractor off, and then we put them on a flexion splint like this. So once you put them on a flexion splint like this, we take them off from this intermittently, and we mobilize the fingers. And then at some point of time, I'll show you some more pictures, and where they develop a 90-degree flexion deformity, but further flexion is full. And then we put them on a finger extension splint, and we finally get them there. So that's the protocol we follow. So this is a clinical case, the same patient, external fixator distraction, and that's what he was at the end of 1 year. And again, the subluxation is still there. The articular surface is not remodeled that much, but compatible with reasonably good function. This is again an aspiring actor, not an aspiring actor, he's an actor who had a cricket ball injury, again came to me after 2.5 months. It's the same scenario, and we followed the same thing. This is the FFD I was talking about. This is at the end of 4 months. This is how they are. And then further flexion is full, and then you put them on an extension splint, and then they finally go on to heal like that. Again, this articular surface is not great. So subluxation and articular irregularity persist. Nothing happens to them. So again, you have a V sign there, you have a V sign there. So maybe this is a soft tissue problem, or predominantly a soft tissue problem, not as much as a bony problem. This is just my thought. I mean, it's subject to debate and deliberation. Again, the same patient, not a great articular surface, so but still compatible with very good function. So how do you know whether the articular surface has been restored or not? The V sign is a good idea, but you can also look at what our colleagues from Singapore did. They drew what is called a circle of happiness. There is a circle which is drawn along the curvature of the base of the middle phalanx, head of the proximal phalanx, and if they are still together inside, one inside each, then it's likely to work very, very well. So that's a circle of happiness, one within which, and it is compatible with extents, very, very good function. So what are the learning points? The dorsopalmar stability is related to the percentage of volar lift fracture. It should be called a subluxation fracture, because the subluxation, I think, predominantly important. Reduction of the subluxation is important. You have the guidelines. If the finger is moving very well, then you have, it should be a gliding flexion, not a hinge flexion. And the extra-articular soft tissue adhesions are getting released. That's a hypothesis I have when you distract it, and that's what has been suggested by Dr. B.B. Joshi as well. And I think in my hands, at least, the distraction arthroplasty works very well. Thank you.